Okay, so this was part 2 of the Sonya Dudley training that I talked about. And so this was kind of what we focused on in the afternoon. And it was all about coaching, which I think is a really important topic because it can be kind of weird, like especially if you haven't been in a position where you've managed people, or I mean, I've managed a lot of people, but I mean, they were getting paid to be there. So like, how can you coach people that you might know really well? Sometimes it's hard to give people you know well constructive feedback. Um, it's also hard to give people that you don't know well feedback. I mean, because basically everyone in this organization is a volunteer. So, you want to do it in a way that is loving, but is also going to make a difference. I mean, there's no, people are coming to you because they want to change something in their lives. So just pretending like there's nothing to change isn't going to help them either. So I think that the way Sonya talked about it, she gave some really good tips and just really good things to think about as you're coaching people, whether they're just starting the business, or these are also really relevant for people that maybe are struggling with the products. I think there's some really good tips in here you can use for that. So she covered the coaching model, and one of the things that she really goes through is it's really about helping people uncover where they feel stuck right now. And it's about asking questions and listening and helping each other discover, like, what are your issues? So you probably, in a lot of cases, know, like, what are you struggling with? So, if Christina was doing one with me and I'm stuck with adding 3 people every day, she's going to be like, so what is your underlying fear? And sometimes you don't want to admit that, but you eventually will get to it if you keep talking about it and probing. So it's really important to let the person that you're coaching really like dig things out and get them out, because that's where the change is going to start to happen. And so, you talk about what do you want to achieve, and then it's really about unpeeling the onion. So that's where you're going to ask the questions. And then if somebody's really stuck with something, brainstorming with them. It's not about judging them. It's just about, okay, let's think about how we can go about solving that. So again, I was struggling with the network expansion thing, and I got some really good advice from Alyssa and Christina. And it was like, look, you need to get out of your house more. Even if you don't want to volunteer at school, you need to go volunteer at school. Like, you just need to find ways to get yourself out more. We kind of brainstormed different things that maybe I could do to make that happen. And then I like to have with, all of my level ones, a weekly coaching call with anyone that's actively working the business, because it may not seem like a week is a long time, but a lot of activity can happen in a week and a lot of things can go on. You kind of just want to have that regular communication. So this was kind of the model that she shared with us here. Some of the key learning points that she wanted us to take away was, a coach is not an expert who gives advice. So this, I think, is really good for people that feel like I can't coach or lead others because I don't know what I'm doing myself. You don't have to know what you're doing yourself at all. You don't have to know the products. You don't have to be a business person. She really hit home on all you need to do is be someone that's willing to listen. You literally don't have to have any experience. You just have to be able to listen. And I thought this was really helpful advice because we all feel unsteady sometimes about what our ability is around coaching other people. But really this whole notion of like, you don't have to know what you're doing to be successful at coaching someone, I thought was really good. Because she talked again about the powers in the process. It's not in the coach. Asking certain kind of questions is key. And people know their answers, but they may not be aware of them. I actually took a little bit of uncovering and digging for me to figure out what my fears truly were, because they were kind of buried down deep inside me. And you don't need to coach, you don't need to know them to coach them. So that was another thing that I was struggling a little bit with people that I was maybe having to coach that I didn't know at all. And I thought, well, it's so much easier when I know them, but it's actually not the case. In some ways it's harder. And, you really don't have to know the things that are, you're going to be teaching them. You just have to know what to say and what questions to ask. If you fail to go within, you will go without. I thought that was really important. So when they're doing the coaching the questions we're going to cover that she talked about, they go deep. And some of them are going to be uncomfortable for you to ask, and some of them are going to be uncomfortable for people to answer. But if you don't really look deep inside and change some habits that are going on, you're not going to move forward. And it's really about making the unconscious conscious. Any questions about that?
I don't think so.
Okay. So again, this is just talking about judgments. It's not, there's not a right or wrong way to do something. I mean, certainly there's ways that people might sell the business in the beginning, or we all puke plexus when we're first starting out. I mean, there's things that you don't want to do, but it's not about you're doing it wrong. It's about let's talk about what's not working, and let me try to reframe some of what you're doing based on the experience that I have gained so far. So it's really, just about how do you keep helping them move forward and tweak what they're doing. It's about offering an observation and not an opinion. There's no failure. It's not about pointing out their weaknesses. Like, well, if only you were a people person, then you wouldn't be struggling in this business. I mean, that wouldn't be motivating to somebody, but you might get at it of saying, okay, you've told me you're not a people person. What does that mean? What do you think maybe you could do to get yourself exposed to people, differently than you are now? So it's really about to start to dig in. And at some point, they're going to have to do something that's uncomfortable. We've all had to push ourselves. Sending magic messages was so uncomfortable for me, but so was not growing my business. So I was just like, I got to suck it up and do it. So then she talked about, these were some examples of some questions that she said you could kind of use to begin the process of the reality phase. So this is really good. These aren't probably ones that you would use like right when someone's starting the business, but this is something to use when someone's like committed to the business and they're either not growing, or they've been in the business for a while and they've stalled. So this is really like, okay, they are coming to you and they're like, I'm doing the work and nothing's happening and I don't know what's going on. The number one question, and I smiled when this was up there because this is the one that I ask other people because it's also what I ask myself, is, are you happy with your business right now? And if the answer is no, then that means you got to do something about it. And you can point them back to that when it's like, if they're giving you excuses about why they can't meet more people or why they can't message people or whatever the case may be. Okay, well, you told me you weren't happy with your business, and now you're telling me you're not willing to do these things. So my observation is you're not willing to put in the work to get to your business where you want to be. Let's talk about what might be holding you back. And those are some of the questions that are there. Is there a fear? Is there something we need to figure out to help you move past it so you can grow your business? What do you think you need to do to move it forward? Really going back and asking people if they're clear on their why is really important. I actually find this is really important for people that are just wholesale taking in the products, because when you start to feel better on Plexus, you kind of forget how bad you felt. And so sometimes when people are like, yeah, I don't know if it's working, it's like, okay, well, you told me before Plexus that you were looking for weight loss, you were looking for better sleep, and you were looking to have your skin look healthier. Have any of those things happened? Yes, all three of those things have happened. Okay, so you're seeing it. And why did you want to feel healthy? You wanted to play with your grandkids. Are you more able to play with your grandkids now than you were before? And if they say yes, then you're help validate, what their why was. Why were they looking to get healthy in the first place? And if they say no, then you've got some troubleshooting to do, and you need to get them right on the right track. So I think these work really well for, that one works really well for whether people are just taking the products or whether they're doing the business. And then I think this last one, again, it's an uncomfortable question to ask, but I think it's really important. And it's, are you willing to be accountable and move past your challenges and fears? And I know I did a lot of self-reflection, and I'm like, I've been at this position for a year now. It's not where I want to be. And am I willing to do what it's going to take? Am I willing to become uncomfortable? And my two choices were no and just stay where I'm at, or yes and figure it out. And I chose the latter. So I think it's a really good question to ask people. And then she shared some coaching statements to dig deeper. So when you get into one of those questions and you want to dig a little bit deeper, it's about like, tell me more. So say someone says, I'm really, I'll use my own, for example. I have a fear of failing. And I think that it's escalated because this is a non-traditional path that I know my family doesn't understand. And so I had to really figure out like, where was that fear coming from and what was I going to do to let it go? And so these are some of the questions that you can really start to ask. You can talk about, do you remember a time when you first felt this way? Tell me about it. Make them really describe all the parts of it. I've talked to people who feel like they aren't worth it. They don't deserve this opportunity. They don't feel like they are gifted of this opportunity. I mean, there's all kinds of baggage that we all come with, some of us more than others, but we all have fears. Like, I don't know one person that doesn't have a fear, and I would venture that all the diamonds still have a fear. They probably still have something. It just might be a quieter fear than it was before, or if they've just decided like, screw it, I don't care if it's going to scare me. I'm going to do it because I want the results that I know I can get. So it's really about kind of just digging past that. And then I think the last one is, are you willing to do some positive affirmations and change your words to yourself? I didn't really believe in these before I started doing them, but they really are truly powerful. And I can tell you that I use them now to get me through any situation I don't want to be in. I use them to get through working out when I feel like giving up before it's the end of my session. I use them before I send my magic messages. Right now I'm calling people from events. I do not like doing it. I do like 10 positive affirmations before I finally am just like, okay, I'm just picking it up and making the phone call. So use them to get yourself out of whatever situation you've gotten yourself into. They're really, really strong and powerful. And as the coach, you may have to help people identify some of those positive affirmations for them to say. Again, this was just the part where she said, she offers an observation, but never an opinion. She gave some role playing and she was really good at saying like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Do I have your permission to share an observation that I've made with you? Because if people aren't willing to hear you, then nothing you say is going to help, and it may actually hurt if they aren't open to hearing it. And then just remember that you're helping them become aware of what they already know. And that's really, at the end of the day, what it is. And this allows them to start to solve their own challenges. And it also takes the blame off of you if it doesn't work. So say like, that somebody to expand their network needs to do a vendor show. If you tell them you've got to do vendor shows and those vendor shows don't produce results, then they may be turning around and saying, you told me to do a vendor show and it didn't work. But if you're brainstorming ways with them of like, okay, what are some ways you can expand your network? And they're like, well, I guess I could do vendor shows even if I don't want to. And then they go do vendor shows and they don't work, then they can come back and say, yeah, it didn't work. And you can say, okay, let's brainstorm some more. But now they've got the ownership and the accountability of the idea versus giving them a reason to come back and blame you. And it's not because I wouldn't care about taking the blame, but it's not going to help them at the end. So that's really why that's a critical part. And they get the credit for when it's successful. So that's even more exciting. So you're not sure a vendor show is going to work, but you've come up with this idea that you need to do a vendor show, and you go and you sign up 4 people. It's like, awesome. You solved your own problem. And that feels differently than just doing what somebody else told you. It feels empowering. It feels very successful. It really feels like you've accomplished something when you come up with the idea and then you succeed at it. And then these were just some final thoughts that I had written down from stuff that she shared. And this is when you're like, well, I don't know if I want to push someone into the business side of it, or I don't know if someone, even if they've already said they want to do the business side, like they're kind of uncomfortable. I don't know if I want to push them. Remember why people are here. More people worry about their finances than they do about their health. So as easy as it is to talk about the products, part of the reason why people don't want to work the business is it's scary. But a large majority of them are way more concerned about their finances than they actually are about their health, which is the products that they're taking for. So by really like nurturing people and helping them along, you're helping them with that issue. Offer your availability to everyone in case they want to try it, but they don't know how. I think this is a really important one. I'm getting ready to talk about the 7-day trial again tomorrow in the group. And, some of you that have done these before, like, that you can go post, what to talk about, but maybe there's some people that are in the group that are new. They're like, I'd actually share that trial, but I have no idea what to do. So I'm going to explicitly say to people, copy and paste this post or copy and paste what you see on my page. I'm giving you permission to do it. Don't worry about it. That's all you got to do. So really being there to help them along. And so they really are kind of like, they can dip their toe in the water safely, and make them feel really comfortable about it. And like, I'm going to be there to hold your hand and I'm going to help you. It's kind of like helping people write their first post, same kind of thing. And then this last one is just about be okay with giving some control away. And so this is something that I want to really work with all of you on is how can I have you guys help me with the team page and with bringing along other people and inspiring each other, because I don't want it just to be my voice. This team is about all of us. It's not about me. So I really would love to see everyone be part of that. That's it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, this was about one of the videos I've watched or listened to in the last couple of days about having an accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about choosing someone?
It's a really interesting question, and it's one I've been asked before. So one of my accountability partners, Amber, we were actually assigned to be paired together in the very first IPA where Christina paired people January a year ago. And so by the grace of God, we were put together and we like just clicked immediately, and we have been close ever since. So certainly if someone pairs you with a person, that might happen. But most of the other people, I have different accountability partners depending on what I need, and they might fill different roles. So it's really about finding ways to expand your network of people on our team that you're talking with. So say you find a post that someone makes and you love their post. Reach out to them, be like, I really like how you post. Can you tell me a little bit more about what process you take in thinking about your post? It's really just about developing friendships with other people that you see common interests in and working together. And so like there might be people, so for this last 7-day trial, my accountability partners for that were Hillary, who's under Christina, and then Stacy and Angela, who are off sideline. They're on the big LPL team, but not our team specifically. And we worked really well together, and we worked to come up with this and things like that. So it kind of just have to like dig around, and you're going to find different people that work and don't work. Sometimes it's like throwing out a challenge of like, okay, I'm looking to go silver this month. We've got 11 days left. Post on, Christina's page or the big LPL page and be like, who else is trying to get silver this month? Let's partner together and cheer each other on. I think that would be a great way to see who you could find.
Okay.
And some people are more open to that and not. So if you post something like that and you don't hear back, it's not because people don't want to partner with you. It's just because, everyone's got their own lives. So I don't know, you just kind of have to like spend some time getting to know people. And the more you're in the business side of it, the more you'll just kind of find those people.
Okay. Because I know my daughter and I are like oil and water. Sometimes we're too much alike.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
we pick at each other.
Yeah.
And the messages don't always get delivered.
Yeah.
With the sound of love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My mom and I would kill each other if we were doing it. So it's okay. I totally understand. I think you guys do really well together. So yeah, I think, in that Blitzed group that we're in, you can reach out to people in there, and you can see if there's anybody in there that's really interested, in reaching a specific goal or whatever. Use those chat groups too as more than just like checking in with your points. Use those chat groups to dialogue with people. I've got this problem. What do I do? How do I talk to this person? Has anybody experienced this issue when following up with someone? Use those groups to your advantage for those kind of messages too.
Okay. Now, when the triple blitz is over, will they start another one?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said to Jim. What am I going to do in the end of the month? Because I feel like I've gotten so much out of these last 3 months.
I do too. So Christina will definitely extend the IPA. It's a matter of what is that going to look like when we get there. So we don't know yet what that's going to look like.
Okay. Because I do really see things coming